This session is focused on the hips and the legs and really stretching out any tight areas. We're also going to add in a little bit of a complex where you might feel challenged. All right, so let's get going to begin with. So we're going to come into a nice lunge position. So I take my right foot in front of my left foot, slowly dropping down onto my left knee, untucking those back toes. And I'm just going to draw that right foot out in front of me a little bit further and just start pulsing back and forth, lengthening the leg as I come back. So 3, maybe a bit deeper. For 2, nice and slow movements. For 1. I'm going to push into this position and I'm going to hold it for 3, for 2, for 1. Taking my left hand down towards the mat, just inside my right foot. Taking my right hand and pushing my right knee out towards the side, rolling onto the outside of my foot for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Holding for 3. That knee nice and wide for 2, for 1. Good. Placing your right hand on the outside of that right foot and taking that right foot across the body, coming into pigeon position. In this position, you can have your hands out in front of you, your arms long, or you can come into a little bit more of a relaxing position onto your elbows and just really focus on your bottom position. So I'm just going to move from side to side. And as I do so, it's going to add tension to my glute area. I'm just going to start sort of stretching it, mobilizing it. I'm going to hold this or move around in this position, so I say, for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Finding some stillness here. Bringing up that back leg, either staying here on my forearms or walking my hands up to just in front of my knee. I'm going to place my right hand in the center of the mat and I'm going to take my left hand and reach behind me. Just be careful. This is a cramping position. So from here, just vary how much you pull on this foot. It can be quite challenging. If you're nowhere near, don't worry about it. Just lift that leg up if you'd like to try and engage those hamstrings or stretch the quad. And just twisting my body round towards that left foot for 3, for 2, for 1. Trying to keep that foot up in the air as I switch over hands. So this is just adding a little bit more depth to the stretch. If you can reach through, maybe bend that arm, bring that foot up towards the body. You can also try and stand tall on that leg, but just work with how you're feeling for the day. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly lowering that back leg. Tucking those back toes, pushing back into a down dog variation. So really working on the backs of the legs now. I'm not really too fussed about where the torso is. In this instance, we're really trying to mobilize or stretch out the legs and the hips. So I'm just pedaling one knee in and then the other knee. If you'd like to work on the upper body, also drive your head through those arms so your ears are inside those arms, pushing that tailbone up towards the ceiling, making sure you've got a nice grip with your hands. And then just moving up and down on your toes, moving your hips from side to side. As you do so, and you can plant your heels or close to, you'll feel a nice pull all the way up the calf, all the way up the side of the leg for 3, for 2, for 1. Taking your left leg forwards, coming into that nice lunge position, dropping that back knee. And again, just moving forward, so pulsing for 3, straightening out that leg, for 2, for 1. Holding in position, really trying to get a little bit of depth and a nice pull on this right hip flexor, trying to square your hips off to the front of the room for 3, for 2, for 1. Dropping your right hand to the center of the mat now, taking your left hand inside that your left knee and just driving it out towards the side for 3, for 2, feeling it on the outside of your hip, maybe rolling onto the outside of your foot, for 1, and then holding it, for 3, for 2, for 1, slowly planting that foot down towards the mat, slowly lengthening out that leg once again, and then planting your left hand the other side of your left foot and just move that left foot to the right hand side of your body. Again, it doesn't really matter how high up this foot is. Some people might have it parallel to your shoulders. I tend to have it quite close to the hip. This is more comfortable for me and I still feel a nice stretch. So I try and make sure that I've got a nice square body here, and then I'm just going to move onto my elbows here. And again, I'm just going to move around. I don't tend to like to hold positions in a static stretch. So I'm just moving around, keeping it nice and active, still feeling that nice stretch. My muscles still starting to sort of relax as the tension sort of fades from that area. For 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Coming onto your forearms or coming onto your hands, or you can lift that right foot first and then come onto your hands, placing your left foot, your left hand in the center of the mat, reaching back with your right hand. And again, if you can't get your hand there, don't worry about it. Just maybe lift up that back leg if you'd like to engage the hamstring and the glute. Otherwise, just stay in that nice pigeon position. Really holding on here. Taking your time just to take a breath. You just need to feel the stretch. It doesn't matter how deep you get into it. As long as you're in control of your movement, it's a good movement for you. For 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly releasing that hand, releasing that foot with control onto the mat. Lifting it up. We kept it up last time, but that's okay. Switching hands, reaching round. Just be careful about the cramping potential here. For 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Slowly lowering that leg down. Placing your hand down on the mat. Pushing through back into down dog. And again, finding a position that works for you. It is fairly hard, so don't worry too much if you're finding it hard. It is hard. But really focus on those legs, so the back of those legs, the glutes, the feet, the hips. And again, just moving around in whichever position or whichever way in which you feel is beneficial. For 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Slowly walking your way up towards where your hands are. And then in this position, we're going to heel toe out into a nice squat. So you might not be able to have your hands on the floor. If you can't, have your hands on your shins and then just slowly sit back. If you're just here, that's fine. Just try and keep those feet nice and on the floor. If you feel yourself rolling over to one side of the foot, try and adjust so you've got your big toe, your little toe and your heel all planted on the floor. And if you can, you're sinking into that nice deep squat. From here, in this nice deep squat, or in the squat of our sort of where we can get to, and we're just going to move our hips from side to side, so really opening up here. For 3, for 2, for 1. Good. If we can, we're going to engage our glutes, engage our legs, engage our core, our pelvic floor, and slowly stand up without trying to move our torso back or forwards. Taking our hands onto our hips, bring our feet together, and taking our right foot around the back of our standing leg. We're going to reach really far back, and then we're going to try and do a bit of a curtsy. But the curtsy is going to go as big as we can get it. So we might try and drop our knee down towards the mat, our right knee down towards the mat. And then in this position, we're going to try and twist our torso forwards. And you should feel a nice pull on the outside of those hips. For 3, for 2, for 1, placing those hands down in front of you. And if you can, stay in that position, trying to sit down almost with your knees stacked on top of each other. So you can adjust this position. You can have some people might have their knees all the way up here. Feel that pull on the left sort of outside of the hip, the glute area. You can play around with your feet as well. We're going to hold this for 3, for 2, for 1. We're going to slowly roll forwards or adjust or get out that position as we can. I'm going to try and stand up as I went down. So slowly using control, taking a stand towards the center, switching sides, planting my right foot in the middle of the mat, left foot behind, using some balance. You might want to hold on to a wall here, but slowly going down with control, dropping that back knee towards the floor. And from here, twisting my torso around towards the front of the room. For 3, for 2, for 1. If I can, I'm going to slowly go down towards the floor, sitting my bottom on the floor as close to, trying to stack my knees as much as possible. I need to stack them only as far as where I get to a nice little pull on the outside of my right leg. You might also feel it a little bit on the left leg because your knees are quite close together, so you're pulling on the outside of those legs. For 3, keep breathing. For 2, for 1. Good. Coming back up. Again, just maneuvering back up into a standing position if that's the only way you feel like you want to do it today. And again, just adjusting through, taking a step forwards. Good. Coming into a nice wide stance. If we can, throwing our hips forward. So you don't want to go too wide because then that's really hard to come into a sort of a goddess or a bent knee wide squat. But you do want to be wide enough that it's really challenging the inside of those thighs. But do it nice and slowly. Keep breathing. We're not going to stay here for too long. So go as deep as you possibly can. Driving those knees out for 3, for 2, for 1. Really feeling it in the hips. Slowly coming up. Coming, maybe widening that stance a little bit and coming into your Cossack squat. So again, trying to drive that bottom back instead of the knees really far forwards. Take that torso nice and tall and come as deep as you can. Whichever position you're in, try and plant those hands down in front of you onto the mat and then slowly lower your right knee towards the mat for 3, for 2, for 1. Rock back over onto your foot, standing up, other side. So down towards the left-hand side, rocking onto your hands, maybe coming onto your toes here. With control, dropping your left knee towards the mat and then slowly coming up. Good. Bring your feet in together and finishing off with a couple of 9 to 90s. So you can come down onto the mat however you'd like to. If you want to just come down in the squat position, slowly lower down and use your hands behind you if you need to control your bottom ascent to the mat. Taking your feet nice and wide, dropping both your knees towards the right-hand side of the room, twisting your torso round towards the side. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly coming up. Trying to keep that torso as upright as you can. You might have to wobble it a little bit, depending how tight you are, and then going towards the other side. For 3, twisting that torso, because then you'll feel the pinch in the hip. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly coming back up to center. If you'd like to do another round of that, go for it. Otherwise, we are finished for today's or this session. Just drop your shoulders, take a nice long deep breath, and hope to see you in my next session. Thank you so much. Bye.